When I walk into a room, I immediately do a head count. Not for how many people are inside the room, but for how many people look like me. It's not something that my parents taught me or something that I picked up from TV, but something that I've always done through preschool, elementary school, middle school, high school classes, undergraduate courses and honors organizations, physical therapy school in Miami, Florida, and even in my pediatric PT residency, I felt the constant weight of the imposter syndrome throughout my academic and professional careers, with being one of the few, if not the only, Black person in the room. Data from the 2016 U.S. Census Bureau highlighting the racial and gender demographics of allied health professionals, including occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech-language pathologists, showed that these professions are majority female, with a little more than 3 females to every male therapist, and overwhelmingly white, with, when comparing white and Black therapists, they're 18 to 1. Now, maybe I just took the road less traveled. If I were a physician or a surgeon, those numbers would look more in my favor. Well, there would definitely be more men in the room, with almost twice as many male physicians as female physicians. But again, when comparing white and Black doctors, instead of 18 white doctors to every Black doctor, there are 12. Here at Nationwide Children's, we serve a large number of children and families, both within the state of Ohio and other U.S. states and even other countries. But when looking at the demographics of children within the state of Ohio under the age of 18 with disabilities, we're seeing that we're treating more boys than girls, and we're treating more white children, but these numbers look drastically different from the allied health professionals and the physicians and surgeons that treat these children, with 4 white children treated for every Black child. So in essence, you're less likely to see someone like me to walk through the halls of Nationwide Children's, and more likely to see, let's say, a white female, and you're less likely to see a child of color be treated by an allied health professional or physician of color. I mean, wouldn't it be great if every hospital system looked like that on Grey's Anatomy, with an equal number of, or an equal proportion of gender, race, all these other backgrounds, markers of diversity? Now, I know this is ideal, and it's not reality for many healthcare systems around the nation. But let me tell you why diversity matters. And diversity here is defined as characteristics that inform or provide a unique life experience or perspective. As part of my residency training, I collaborate with other healthcare professionals in the early development clinic here at Nationwide. And one particular Friday, a white mother and her adoptive Black son came in for an evaluation, and they saw me. After the evaluation, the mother pulled me aside and said, "Nick, I just want to thank you so much for being present, for being you. I can't tell you how much it means to me and my son that you were there to be someone who looked just like him to interact with." In that moment, she felt safe. She trusted me, and diversity was important to her because it allowed her son to interact positively with someone who looked just like him, an experience that he'd never had before. And diversity is not only important for families, but it's important to the healthcare team because it can allow for those varied experiences and those various thought processes and different backgrounds to come together to create the best healthcare experience, that journey to best outcomes. It's even written in our Nationwide Children's mission statement and values. Do the right thing. Create a safe day every day. And creating a safe day also includes providing a safe space for patients and families to share those stories of anxiety or fear or doubt. That white mother, she felt comfortable saying that she felt uncomfortable taking her son into the community, trying to find a barbershop for him because her hair salon couldn't recommend one, or going to the doctor's office because she didn't know what questions to ask or what to expect. So when I was much younger and peaked so early on in my life, I remember going to the grocery store, to the shopping mall, to the doctor's offices, and not only noticing the other children in the room, but I was noticing the adults. Who was tearing my movie stub ticket? Who was checking me out at the grocery line? And guess who else was watching? Our 4-year-olds, our 5-year-olds, our 6-year-olds, our 16-year-olds. They're receiving implicit messages about what the world looks like every day when they go to the shopping mall, to the grocery store, to the doctor's office. And so diversity is also important because it can allow hospitals the opportunity and the responsibility to highlight the possibilities for children, despite their diversity, despite their age, their gender, their race, their socioeconomic background, their linguistic background, their disability status. So we should make every effort to ensure workplace diversity and to improve allied health professionals, physicians and surgeons, and treating the children here in our state and other states. But that's not it. That's not the entire picture. That's only a piece of the puzzle. Yes, diversity is extremely important for all the reasons that I said and more, to create safety, to improve trust, and to improve the healthcare experience. But let me tell you why diversity is not enough. Here in Columbus, Ohio, we have the second largest population of Somali immigrants. Let's say a young Somali boy walks into the therapy gym for an evaluation, he sees me. We should be able to connect, right, to relate. We're the same color, the same gender, but those external markers of diversity are only a piece of the puzzle. We might have different religious backgrounds. We might have other markers of diversity that don't coincide for me to automatically relate to him. So let's change the story. Let's say a young black boy walks into a therapy gym. We're essentially the same person, right? We're the same gender, the same race, the same cultural background. We're essentially the same person. But what if he's of a lower socioeconomic background with a single mother who didn't finish high school? Or vice versa. Let's say he's of a very affluent neighborhood where both parents are graduate students, or were graduate students, one's a doctor, one's a lawyer. I can't relate to either of those scenarios. And yes, sharing markers of diversity might imply that there are life experiences that we can share and that are similar, but I'm a member of many communities. Being black and being male are two of them, but I don't represent all male or black experiences. And that's a good thing, because we have a tool right here, right now, all of us, that we can use to improve safety and trust, to not only improve patient satisfaction, but to improve the healthcare experience. So let me tell you about relatability. And take a minute to look at the word relatability, because I think the word relationship also fits well with us. And when we say relatability, I'm talking more than just kind of making that small talk. Oh, I'm from Portsmouth, Ohio. You might know my grandmother. You know someone who went to this high school. But relatability also implies being empathetic, showing compassionate care, empowering our patients and our families to make those best healthcare decisions as a team member, where they can feel comfortable opening up about those anxieties, where they can ask for services or staff that they feel might make the healthcare experience that much better. And guess what? You don't have to share those same markers of diversity to show compassion, to be empathetic, to empower your patients. For me, it's important to relate to my patients and families because the majority of them walk into the therapy gym and they don't look like me. But for everybody, we can't control who walks into the doors of Nationwide Children's Hospital. What socioeconomic background, what gender, what race, what age, what linguistic background. So it's even more important that we relate. A while ago, I treated a young white girl in a therapy gym, and I asked her what every adult asks every child. What do you want to be when you grow up? And without hesitation, she looked up at me and said, I want to be just like you. I want to be a physical therapist. My being male and my being black didn't influence her decision to want to be a physical therapist, but it was the connection and the bond that we made over the time that I treated her that inspired her to make that decision. And I've had several faces throughout my life who did not look like me, but they gave me their wings and they told me to fly. And so relating to our patients and relating to our families can help inspire them, their siblings, their parents. And isn't that one of the many hopes of adulthood? That our children are able to see themselves, see their potential, to see their future in the adults they interact with. I can only imagine my PT residency director saying, Nick, I just want you to think about how is anything that you're saying any different from standard of patient care? And I have to agree with her. Are we making relatability? Are we making diversity hallmarks, priorities here at the hospital? Because guess what? Our patients and families might go to other institutions, other healthcare institutions, and wouldn't it be great if Nationwide Children set the standard for what it means to really relate to patients and families? So how do we do this? What can we do? I have 4 great ideas. Continuing to use those recruitment strategies, career fairs, job fairs, putting the face to the name, or putting different faces to the name, to again inspire these high school, middle school, college students to go into these fields that are less represented? Are we probing these questions about relatability in our interviews here? Hey, welcome to Nationwide Children's. We're so happy to have you today. Can you tell us a story where you might have been different from a coworker, a boss, a patient, or family? What did you do about it? How did you feel about it? What was the difference, if there were any? For the employees that are already here, are we having those good cultural competency trainings, those implicit bias trainings, those quarterly or annual meetings where we sit down and talk about what's going well, what's not going well, what do we feel comfortable with, but most importantly, what don't we feel comfortable with? Because psychology research suggests that when we collaborate with one another, we can help reduce implicit biases. And lastly, what are you doing before, during, and after a patient visit or evaluation? Are you asking yourself, did I do the very best that I could for that patient? Did I relate to them in some way that made them trust me, feel safe? Because the future of our healthcare depends on this. Our children depends on this. And that young boy that you saw sitting down with his Easter eggs, who now stands in front of you today, he continues to use that in his practice every day. Thank you.